What, so you mentioned that you started in '94, 10 years from 2004. Um, what was it that brought you in? For myself, it was sort of a camaraderie of, artists. I always had an appreciation, when I was doing it a lot back in high school. That's what brought me into it, was this sort of um, camaraderie that, me and my friends shared.
A group dynamic.
Yeah, a group dynamic. Sure. What was your sort of catalyst to getting involved with graffiti?
Well, I echo the kind of like feeling of kind of like group dynamic, camaraderie. I was looking for that. That wasn't necessarily my first inclination to find it. But what really kind of sparked me was there was several graffiti writers that were putting in a significant amount of work in my neighborhood, and I'm from Hyattsville, Maryland. We're not known for a big graffiti scene. We've definitely produced some bona fide writers, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. At the time, though, you know what I'm saying, like, that was very, very young and only a few years old. There was a writer named Gist, who was in PG County, very prominent, known for doing his bubble letters as characters. So he had his J was a bong, and his S was a snail. He used to do those all over the place, you know what I'm saying? So, mm-hmm. Me being, 15, 16 at the time, you know what I'm saying, I used to get up early in the morning to go serve newspapers. So I would be running the streets in the nighttime, but I'd be coming across this graffiti. Sometimes it'd still be fresh, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember one time, like, running my hand through a line of a mop, you know what I'm saying, and damn, my hand was on all black, you know what I'm saying, he had just been there. That kind of really, really kind of, kind of piqued my curiosity. But at the same time, there was other groups around me that were already doing graffiti. Some of them were doing graffiti art style stuff on the Red Line, and some of them were gangs. Mm-hmm. And so there was a group dynamic that was kind of beckoning me, mostly because I wasn't doing, the other typical group thing. I wasn't on the football team. I wasn't doing, a whole lot of other things. And it offered for me a transition from some of the things that I had been doing, group-wise, to doing something that I felt a little bit more strongly about. And, for graffiti writers in general, it is what I would classify as an outsider art. You really need to go looking for it to find it, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to get down and dirty with it, you want to learn it, you got to go find somebody that does it, and you got to have them put you on. I mean, you can run around in the, kind of trying to figure it out for yourself, but until you find somebody that's already done it, it's going to be kind of tough, and everybody finds somebody eventually. I know I've heard a lot of guys say, oh, well, I just started by myself. Well, you found somebody to show you something, whether or not you're still friends with them or not, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, but you've had somebody show you something that brought you further into the culture. But for being an outsider culture, it really dictates that you got to kind of go search it out. You got to go find it. So you're by yourself initially, and you might have a couple of friends that go along with you. You know what I'm saying? Inherently, you become part of a larger group after you find it.
I guess sort of just the last thing is that, you sort of touched upon, gangs and the other communicative method, styles and messages, both gang and non-gang. Is there anything else that, you feel strongly about in terms of, world of graffiti? Anything, in terms of your classes, do you think that's important just to sort of mention or anything?
Well, I always stress to anybody that comes to my classes that what you're doing is not new. All right, that there is a lineage in this country of at least 150 years of this practice happening in its various forms. And one of the reasons why I tell them that is because I feel like it's really important for them to understand how long it really had to travel before it got here. A lot of people will say, oh, 73 they were painting burners on the train. Mm-hmm. 73 they were painting bubble letters on the train, you know what I'm saying, about like 74, 75, 76 they started to really get letter style and structures. By the time you get into the 80s, they were really doing stone cold burners, and some people had done some a few years before, and they were doing whole cars and all that kind of stuff. But the reality of the situation is, before 73, there's about 100 years of history, you know, and some people aren't willing to attach that to graffiti art because it doesn't have the same visual impact. But for me, if it wasn't for those first 100 years, you don't get that in 73. You know, there had to be a build up because not everybody was doing it. You know what I'm saying? You know, you had small pockets of people that were really participating in the culture. You know, those early years were all, you know, freight hopping hobos, you know what I'm saying, into the early 1920s where the Cholo style really starts off, and you have the placas, you know what I'm saying. Around the time that the placas start, you have in every major city the first emergence of graffiti signatures, right? Which coincides with pushes from the government for education of young children, which coincides with the phasing out of young children out of the workforce, you know what I'm saying, and giving them therefore more spare time and educating them. And so you have this kind of build up to where you get to the late 60s and there's no art classes and there's nothing for the kids to do and they're educated, you know what I'm saying, and what are they going to do? Bam, there you go. So for me, I just want people to understand, you know what I'm saying, that this culture that they're looking at is really a tradition. It's a tradition among American children and young adults, and that it's going to continue to build and grow, and potentially, you know, 100 years from now, they won't be talking about how graffiti is illegal. They'll just be talking about how it's affected society, hopefully in a positive way.
That's awesome. That's really all I could have hoped for, man.
Cool.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time.
Not a problem, man. I definitely want to take a look at it when it's all done.
Oh yeah, absolutely.